The silence in the apartment had weight to it. Not the comfortable kind you sink into after a long day. This was the hollow kind, the kind that presses against your eardrums and makes you notice sounds you'd never heard before. The refrigerator's low hum, the pipes clicking in the walls, the neighbor's television through the ceiling at odd hours, 6 days. That's how long Caroline had been gone on her business trip to Denver. I stood at the kitchen counter, rinsing a single plate under water that ran too hot. My hands were red by the time I shut off the faucet. 1 plate, 1 fork, 1 glass. The dishwasher was mostly empty, just my things accumulating slowly, an archaeological record of a man eating alone. The apartment felt larger somehow, like the space Caroline occupied had physical mass, and now that she was gone, the rooms had expanded to fill the void. Our bedroom felt cavernous. The bathroom counter, usually cluttered with her makeup and hair products, looked bare and institutional. I dried the plate and put it away. Checked my phone, no messages. That should have bothered me more than it did. Caroline had left Monday morning, rolling her small suitcase to the door, kissing me on the cheek with lips that didn't quite make full contact. Conference in Denver, she'd said. Peterson sending the whole team, back Friday. Peterson. Russell Peterson. Her boss. The man whose name had been appearing on her phone screen with increasing frequency over the past 2 months. I'd noticed. Of course I'd noticed. Late-night texts she'd angle away from me, phone calls she'd take in the other room, a new habit of showering immediately after coming home from work, as if she needed to wash something away before facing me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. But I'd told myself I was being paranoid, insecure, she was ambitious, she was networking. This was just how modern careers worked. My phone buzzed, Caroline's name on the screen. I let it ring 3 times before answering. Hey, babe? Her voice was smooth, practiced, the tone she used with clients. Just finished the last session of the day. Thought I'd check in. How's it going? Good, exhausting. You know how these conferences are. Death by PowerPoint. I listened to her voice, to the cadence and rhythm. Something was off. Not wrong, exactly, just rehearsed. What's the weather like there? I asked. A pause, half a second too long. Cold. Really cold, actually. I didn't pack warm enough. That's Denver for you. Yeah. Another pause. Hey, I should go. Meeting some people for dinner. Love you. Love you too. She hung up. I stood there holding my phone, replaying the conversation in my head, the pauses, the vague details, the background noise that wasn't there. When Caroline talked about conferences, she usually came alive. She'd tell me about the speakers, the workshops she attended, the people she'd met. She'd complain about the hotel beds, or the overpriced coffee, or the terrible convention center food. This call had been a checklist. Minimal information, maximum deniability. I grabbed my keys and wallet. We needed milk, and I needed to get out of this apartment before I drove myself crazy analyzing a 30-second phone call. The grocery store parking lot was half empty. Monday evening, that dead zone between the after-work rush and the night shoppers. I parked near the entrance, walked through automatic doors into fluorescent brightness and piped-in music. The produce section smelled like wet cardboard and artificial mist. I grabbed a basket and headed for the dairy aisle, not really seeing what was on the shelves, just going through motions. David. I turned. Amanda Brenner stood 5 feet away, holding a shopping basket with wine, cheese, and a frozen pizza. She worked with Caroline. Same department, same boss, same supposed trip to Denver. Amanda. I smiled automatically, the social reflex. How are you? I'm good, just grabbing dinner. She held up the basket like evidence. You? Same. How was Denver? Her face changed. It wasn't dramatic. Just a slight shift in her expression, a tightening around her eyes, a flicker of something that might have been confusion or concern or recognition. I'm sorry, she said carefully. The conference, in Denver. You and Caroline went, right? Amanda set her basket down on the floor, slowly, buying herself time to think. Her hand came up to tuck hair behind her ear, a nervous gesture. David, I didn't go to Denver. Oh, I thought Caroline said, I'm not in Denver. She stepped closer, lowered her voice even though we were alone in the aisle. Caroline isn't either. The fluorescent lights above us buzzed. Somewhere in the store, a scanner beeped. What do you mean? Amanda looked at me like she was trying to solve a puzzle, like she was calculating something difficult. I saw Caroline on Friday, she said, at the office. She told Peterson she needed the week off. Personal reasons. I assumed you two were doing something together, maybe trying to work on... She stopped. Work on what? I asked. David. Her voice was gentle, pitying. A colleague of my wife said to me, Your wife is not on a business trip. She has been living at our boss's place for a week. The words hung in the air between us. Clinical, precise, final. I didn't react, didn't blink, just processed the information, filed it away with all the other data points I'd been ignoring for months. I'm sorry, Amanda said. I thought you knew. I thought maybe you'd agreed to... Thank you for the great news, I said. She flinched at my tone. Not angry, not hurt, just flat. Empty. David, are you okay? I'm fine. Thank you for telling me. Do you need... I'm fine, I repeated. Really, I appreciate your honesty. I walked away before she could say anything else. Left my basket in the aisle. Forgot about the milk. Just walked out of the store into the parking lot where the evening air was cool and the sky was darkening and everything looked exactly the same as it had 15 minutes ago, except nothing was the same at all. I sat in my car with the engine off. My hands were steady on the steering wheel. My breathing was normal. My heart rate was elevated but not racing. Shock, probably. The body's way of protecting the mind from information it isn't ready to process. I thought about the past 2 months. Caroline had started going to the gym before work. 5:30 in the morning, she'd set her alarm, kiss me goodbye while I was still half asleep, and leave. She'd come back an hour later, showered and dressed for work, smelling like expensive shampoo and purpose. I need the energy boost, she'd said when I asked about the new routine. Sitting at a desk all day was annoying me. 3 weeks ago, she'd gone shopping with her friend Lisa. Came back with bags from stores I'd never heard of. Lingerie stores, expensive ones. I'd seen the bags, but hadn't looked inside. She'd taken them straight to the bedroom, and when I'd asked about it later, she'd smiled and said it was a surprise for me. I'd never seen any of it. 2 weeks ago, she'd stayed late at work 4 nights in a row. Big project, she'd explained. Peterson wants it perfect before we present to the client. Last Monday, the night before her trip, she'd been on her phone until past midnight. I'd woken up to use the bathroom and found her in the living room, curled up on the couch, screen glow on her face, fingers moving fast across the keyboard. Who are you texting? I'd asked. She jumped, locked her phone quickly. Just my mom. She's having trouble sleeping. Her mother, who she talked to maybe once a month, who lived 3 states away, who had never in the 6 years I'd known her called Caroline after 10 at night. I'd believed it because I'd wanted to believe it. I pulled out my phone, called Caroline. She answered immediately. Hey, babe, everything okay? Where are you right now? At the hotel. Why? What's wrong? Which hotel? The Marriott downtown. David, you're scaring me. What's going on? Her voice was perfect. Concerned but not worried. Confused but not guilty. The kind of performance that comes from practice. What's the weather like there? I asked again. It's cold. I already told you that. What is this about? Just making conversation. David, how's the conference going? Any interesting sessions today? It's fine. Standard stuff. Market trends, customer engagement strategies. Why are you asking me this? No reason. Just wanted to hear your voice. A pause. Longer this time. I could almost hear her thinking, recalibrating. Are you drunk? She asked. Completely sober. Then what's going on? Nothing. I'm just realizing I don't know you as well as I thought I did. What's that supposed to mean? It means I hope you're enjoying Denver, Caroline. I'll see you when you get back. I hung up before she could respond. Then I called my wife to ask where she was, and now I knew exactly where she wasn't. My phone rang immediately. Caroline calling back. I declined it. She called again. I declined it again. By the 4th call, I turned the phone off completely. I sat in the parking lot for another 20 minutes, watching people come and go. Families loading groceries into minivans, college kids grabbing beer and snacks, elderly couples moving slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world, normal people, normal lives. Then I started the car and headed north, toward Riverside Oaks, toward Peterson's house, toward the truth I already knew but needed to see with my own eyes. 2 hours later, I knocked on her boss's door, and then Riverside Oaks, gated community, big houses with bigger mortgages, the kind of neighborhood where people said estate instead of house and property, instead of yard. I'd been here once before, 2 years ago. Company barbecue. Peterson had invited the whole department to his place. Grilled steaks, served expensive wine, shown off his pool and his view and his carefully curated life. Caroline had loved it. She'd walked around his house like she was touring a museum, touching the furniture, admiring the artwork, commenting on the architecture. She'd spent half the evening on his back deck, glass of wine in hand, laughing at his stories about climbing the corporate ladder. I'd thought she was networking. I parked across the street from the entrance gate, in a shopping center parking lot that had a clear view of the security booth. The guard was an older man, maybe 65, sitting under a lamp reading a paperback, the kind of security that was mostly for show, to make the residents feel exclusive. I needed a plan, or at least the appearance of one. I pulled out my phone, turned it back on, and called Jason. He answered on the first ring. "Talk to me." Jason Mitchell, my best friend since college. Built like he still played defensive line, which he had. Now he ran his own construction company, had 3 kids, and generally had his life together in ways I'd thought I did, but apparently didn't. "You busy?" I asked. "Never too busy for you. What's going on?" "Caroline's been sleeping with her boss." Silence on the line. Then, "You sure?" "I'm parked outside his house right now. Her car's in the driveway." "Where are you exactly?" I told him. "Don't move. Don't do anything. I'm 15 minutes away." "Jason?" I said, "Don't move, David. I'm serious. 15 minutes. He hung up. I sat there and watched the gate. Cars came and went, residents with security stickers on their windshields, guests stopping to give names to the guard. The whole theater of controlled access, of keeping the world at a comfortable distance. A silver sedan pulled out. Not Caroline's car. Different make, different model. I watched it go anyway, just to have something to do besides think. Jason's truck appeared 12 minutes later. Big Ford F-250, work lights on the roof, ladder rack in the bed. He pulled in next to me, parked, and climbed into my passenger seat. "You okay?" he asked. "Define okay." "Fair point." He looked at the gate, at the security booth, at the houses beyond. "How do you know she's here?" "Her coworker told me, and I just called her. She lied straight to my face about being in Denver." "You see her car?" "Not from here, but she's here. I can feel it." Jason studied me. "What do you want to do?" "I want to knock on his door and see her face when she realizes I'm not an idiot." "And then what?" "I don't know." "That's what I thought." He shifted in his seat to face me fully. "Listen to me. We can do this. We can drive up to that house, knock on that door, and confront them both. But you need to be clear about what you want to happen. I want the truth. You already have the truth. You want confirmation. That's different. Fine, I want confirmation. And after that, I want her to know that I know." Jason nodded slowly. "Okay, but here's the rule. No violence, no threats, no property damage. We go in, we say what needs to be said, we leave. You don't touch him, you don't touch her. You keep your hands in your pockets if you have to. Understood?" "Understood." "I'm serious, David. The second you throw a punch or break something, you're the bad guy. You lose everything. Your job, your reputation, probably your freedom. Is that worth it?" "No." "Then we do this smart. We do this cold. We walk in there like we own the place, we make them feel small, and we walk out with our heads up. Agreed?" "Agreed." "Good." He opened his door. "Let's go." We waited for another resident to pull through, then followed them in. The guard glanced up, saw 2 guys in a truck, waved us through without question. Security theater. Peterson's house was at the end of Magnolia Court, a cul-de-sac lined with Bradford pears and decorative street lamps. 2-story stone and stucco, 3-car garage, professionally landscaped front yard with those solar lights that made everything look like a resort at night. 2 cars in the driveway. One was Peterson's, black Audi sedan, vanity plate that said Victory. The other was Caroline's silver Honda. My hands started shaking. "Breathe," Jason said quietly. "In through your nose, out through your mouth. Get your head right." I did what he said. 3 deep breaths. The shaking stopped. We got out of the truck and walked up the driveway like we'd been invited. The front walkway was paved with slate, lit by those low-voltage lights that cost more than they should. Everything about this place screamed money and taste and a life I'd never be able to afford. I could hear music through the door, classical, something with strings and piano. I pressed the doorbell, heard it chime inside, some custom melody, probably expensive. Footsteps, high heels on hardwood, getting closer. The door opened. Caroline stood there in a black dress I'd never seen before. Form-fitting, stylish, the kind of thing you wore when you wanted to be looked at. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders. Her makeup was perfect. She had a wine glass in one hand. She'd been smiling when she opened the door. The smile died the instant she saw me. David. Just my name. Not a question, not a greeting. Just acknowledgement, flat and resigned, like she was opening the door to find a package she didn't order. Hey, sweetheart, I said. Thought I'd drop by. Hope I'm not interrupting anything. She didn't move. Didn't step back. Didn't invite us in. Didn't close the door. Just stood there, wine glass in hand, processing the fact that her two worlds were colliding. How did you find me? She asked. Amanda Brenner says hello. Funny running into her at the grocery store. She had some interesting things to say about your business trip. Caroline's face went pale. David, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you've been lying to me for days? That you're not in Denver at some conference. You're here at your boss's house, wearing a dress I've never seen, drinking wine at 8 o'clock on a Monday night? It's not what you think. Really? Then what is it, Caroline? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what I think. Who is it? A man's voice from inside. Deep, confident, casual. Russell Peterson appeared behind Caroline. Mid-40s, salt and pepper hair styled with product, wearing dark slacks and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He had a wine glass, too. They'd been having a nice evening. He looked at me with polite confusion, like I was a neighbor stopping by to borrow a cup of sugar. Can I help you? He asked. Mr. Peterson, I said. I'm David Brennan, Caroline's husband. But you already knew that, didn't you? His expression didn't change. David. Yes, Caroline's mentioned you. Has she? That's nice. What did she say? He stepped forward, one hand settling on Caroline's shoulder. The gesture was deliberate, possessive. He wanted me to see it, wanted me to understand the dynamic. This probably isn't the best time to have this conversation, he said. No? When would be a better time? When you're done sleeping with my wife? Caroline flinched. David, please what? Please don't make a scene. Please don't point out that you've been lying to my face while you play house with your boss. You don't understand the situation, Peterson said. His voice was calm, measured, the voice of someone used to controlling conversations. Caroline and I have been having an affair. Yeah, I got that part. It's more complicated than that. It really isn't. Jason moved up beside me. He hadn't said anything yet, just stood there like a wall, his presence changing the geometry of the confrontation. Peterson noticed. Who's your friend? Someone who keeps me from making bad decisions, I said. Like coming here alone. David, you need to calm down, Caroline said. That's when something broke inside me. Not rage, something colder. Calm down? I looked at her fully for the first time. Really looked at her. I am calm, Caroline. I'm absolutely calm. I'm so calm that I can stand here and look at you and feel absolutely nothing. That's not true. You know what I realized tonight? When I was sitting in my car outside the grocery store after Amanda told me where you really were, I realized I wasn't surprised. Not really, because part of me has known for weeks. The gym visits, the new clothes, the late nights at work, the phone calls you take in the other room. I knew, I just didn't want to admit it. David, and you want to know the worst part? I would have forgiven you. If you'd come to me, if you'd been honest, if you'd said you were unhappy or bored or whatever justification you're going to use, I would have tried to fix it. But you didn't give me that chance. You just lied and lied and lied until I had to hear the truth from your coworker in the grocery store dairy aisle. Tears were running down her face now. Real tears, maybe. Or maybe just the performance of tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not. You're sorry I found out. That's different. Peterson pulled Caroline back slightly, positioning himself more fully in the doorway. I think you've said your piece. It's time for you to leave. Oh, I'm leaving, but first I want to hear it from her. No excuses, no justifications, just the truth. David, don't... Caroline started. Are you sleeping with him? She closed her eyes. Answer me. Yes. The word hung in the air. Simple. Final. How long? 2 months. Do you love him? She hesitated, looked at Peterson, looked back at me. I don't know. Maybe. I think so. And me? Do you love me? Another hesitation. Longer this time. I used to. There it was. The truth. Clean and sharp and final. Okay, I said. Thank you for being honest. Finally. I turned to leave. Jason put a hand on my shoulder, steadying me. David, wait, Caroline called. I stopped. looked back. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now? Now you get to be with him, fully, publicly, no more sneaking around, no more lies. You can have exactly what you wanted. And us? There is no us, Caroline. There hasn't been for 2 months. I was just too stupid to see it." Peterson spoke up. "For what it's worth, I didn't pursue her. This just happened." "Save it," I said. "You're her boss. She's your subordinate. Nothing about this just happened. You made a choice. She made a choice. Now you both get to live with those choices." I walked back to Jason's truck. He followed. We got in. "That went better than I expected," Jason said as he started the engine. "How do you figure?" "Nobody bled. Nobody got arrested. You said what you needed to say. Clean break." I looked back at Peterson's house. Caroline was still standing in the doorway, crying. Peterson had his arm around her, pulling her inside, out of view. "It doesn't feel clean," I said. "It will, eventually." We drove back to the shopping center where I'd left my car. Jason parked next to it, turned off the engine. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. "Go home, figure out my next move." "You need me to stay with you tonight?" "No, I'm okay." "You're not okay, but you will be." He looked at me seriously. "David, listen to me. What you're feeling right now, use it, channel it. Don't let it eat you alive. Don't let them win by watching you fall apart." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that your wife just destroyed your life, and her boss helped her do it, and neither of them think there will be consequences." "There won't be. They're adults. They can do what they want." "Can they? He's her boss, David. She's his direct report. Most companies have policies about that. Strict policies." I looked at him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe Caroline and Peterson need to learn that actions have consequences, and maybe you're the one who needs to teach them that lesson." "Jason, I'm not saying do anything illegal. I'm not saying get violent. I'm saying be smart. Be strategic. Make them understand that they don't get to blow up your life and walk away clean." "You want me to get revenge." "I want you to get justice. There's a difference." I sat there in silence, processing what he was saying. The old David would have said no, would have walked away, licked his wounds, tried to move on with dignity. But the old David was dead. He'd died in that doorway when Caroline admitted she didn't love me anymore. "Tomorrow," I said quietly, "they learn what boredom feels like." Jason smiled. Not a happy smile, something darker. "Now you're thinking straight. Call me tomorrow. We'll make a plan." I got out of his truck and into my car, drove home through streets that felt different now, like the city itself had rearranged while I wasn't looking. The apartment was dark when I got there. I didn't turn on the lights, just sat on the couch in the darkness and thought about Caroline's face when she opened that door. Not guilt, not shame. Annoyance, like I was a problem to be managed, an inconvenience. That's what I'd become to her, an obstacle between her and the life she wanted. I pulled out my phone and started researching corporate ethics policies, conflict of interest guidelines, fraternization rules. By 2 a.m, I had a plan. By sunrise, I knew exactly what I was going to do. At 8:30, I called in sick to work. My boss was understanding. I'd never taken a sick day in 3 years, so I had the capital to spend. At 9, I showered, shaved, and put on my only suit. Charcoal gray, bought for job interviews I'd had years ago, still fitting well enough. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. He looked determined, focused, dangerous in the quiet way that people don't see coming. Good. At 9:30, I drove downtown. Mitchum Holdings occupied floors 23 through 25 of the Riverside Tower. Glass and steel, reflective windows, the kind of building designed to make you feel small. I parked in the visitor garage, fed quarters into the meter, and walked into the lobby. Marble floors, abstract sculpture in the center, directory board listing companies and floor numbers, security desk with 2 guards who looked bored. The elevator was full of people in business attire, checking phones, not making eye contact. I rode up to 23 in silence, surrounded by the ambient hum of ambition. The doors opened to a reception area that probably cost more than my car. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather furniture, a curved desk where a young woman in a blazer sat with a headset and a practiced smile. "Good morning. Welcome to Mitchum Holdings. Do you have an appointment?" "I need to speak with Mr. Mitchum." Her smile didn't falter. "Mr. Harold Mitchum, our CEO?" "Yes." "I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Mitchum's schedule is fully booked for the next several weeks. If you'd like to leave your information, I can pass it along." "Tell him David Brenner is here. Tell him I have information about a senior manager violating the company's fraternization policy." The smile flickered. just for a second. Then she picked up her phone, pressed a button, spoke quietly. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I watched her face change. Concern, surprise. A quick glance at me. She hung up. "Please have a seat. Someone from HR will be down shortly." "Thank you." I sat in one of the leather chairs. They were expensive, uncomfortable. The coffee table had magazines nobody read. Fortune, Forbes, Businessweek, all carefully arranged to suggest success and stability. Through the windows, I could see the city spreading out below. Office buildings and apartment complexes and highways winding between them. Somewhere out there, Caroline was probably panicking, calling Peterson, trying to figure out what I was doing. Let her wonder. 7 minutes later, a woman emerged from the elevator. Mid-50s, gray suit that fit perfectly, hair pulled back in a way that suggested she didn't have time for nonsense. She carried a tablet and moved with the efficiency of someone who'd handled crises before. "Mr. Brennan, I'm Patricia Simmons, Director of Human Resources. Would you come with me, please?" I stood, followed her to the elevator. She didn't speak as we rode up, didn't ask questions. Just looked straight ahead, tablet tucked under her arm, face carefully neutral. The 25th floor was executive territory. You could tell by the art on the walls, the thicker carpet, the way the silence felt more expensive. She led me to a conference room with a view of the river. Glass table, 8 chairs, abstract art that probably meant something to someone. "Please sit." I sat. She sat across from me, opened her tablet, looked up with eyes that missed nothing. "You mentioned a fraternization policy violation," she said. "Russell Peterson and my wife, Caroline Brennan, she works in his department. They've been having an affair." She typed something. "Your wife works here?" "She's a senior analyst in client relations. Reports directly to Peterson. Has for the past 18 months. "And you're alleging a romantic relationship between them?" "I'm not alleging. I'm stating a fact. They've been sleeping together for at least 2 months. Last week she told me she was going to Denver for a business conference. She was actually staying at his house. When I showed up at his residence last night, she answered the door. He was there. They'd been drinking wine, having dinner. She admitted the affair when I confronted her." Patricia typed steadily, her face giving nothing away. "Do you have documentation? Text messages, emails, photographs?" "I have her admission. I have the testimony of other employees who know about the relationship. I have the fact that she lied about her whereabouts using company business as a cover story." "Which employees?" "Amanda Brenner, for one. She's in the same department. She's the one who told me Caroline wasn't actually in Denver." More typing. "Why are you bringing this to us, Mr. Brennan?" "Because your employee handbook clearly states that relationships between supervisors and direct reports are prohibited. Because what they're doing creates a conflict of interest and exposes your company to liability. And because I want them held accountable." She looked up from her tablet. "Held accountable how?" "Fired. Both of them." "Mr. Brennan, I understand you're upset." "I'm not upset." I kept my voice level, calm. "I'm informing you of a policy violation that puts your company at risk. You have an executive who's sleeping with a subordinate. That subordinate has received promotions and favorable treatment. Other employees might reasonably wonder if those promotions were earned or given in exchange for sexual favors. That's a textbook hostile work environment. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen." Patricia's fingers paused over her tablet. "You've thought about this carefully." "I've had all night to think about it." "What do you want out of this, beyond seeing them terminated?" "Nothing. I don't want money. I don't want a settlement. I just want your company to enforce its own policies." She studied me for a long moment. Then she closed her tablet and stood. "Wait here, please." She left. I sat alone in the conference room, watching boats move slowly up the river, small white wakes trailing behind them. Everything looked peaceful from up here, distant, like the problems of the world were happening somewhere else to someone else. The minutes crawled past. 10, 20, 30. I checked my phone, still off. I turned it on briefly. 23 missed calls. I turned it off again. At the 40-minute mark, the door opened. Patricia came back. She wasn't alone. The man behind her was in his mid-60s, silver hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, gold watch. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who'd spent decades making decisions that affected thousands of lives. "Mr. Brennan," he extended his hand. "I'm Harold Mitchum. Thank you for coming in today." We shook. His grip was firm, evaluating. "Thank you for seeing me," I said. Patricia briefed me on the situation. He sat down at the head of the table, gestured for me to sit. I have to ask you something directly. Is this about revenge, or is this about doing what's right? I sat, looked him in the eyes. Does it matter? Yes. Then it's both. I want them to face consequences for what they did, but I also don't think what they're doing is right. Not for me, not for your company, not for the other people in that department who might think sleeping with Russell Peterson is the price of career advancement. Mitchum leaned back in his chair. Fair answer. He glanced at Patricia. What's your assessment? If the relationship is confirmed, it's a clear policy violation. Given Mr. Peterson's position and the power dynamic involved, termination would be appropriate for both parties. Agreed. He looked at me again. Here's what's going to happen, Mr. Brennan. We're going to start an immediate investigation. Both Mr. Peterson and your wife will be suspended pending the results. If what you're telling us is true, and I have no reason to think it isn't, they'll both be terminated. How long will the investigation take? 3 days, maybe less. We'll interview witnesses, review communications, establish the timeline. This is a private company, and we take our policies seriously. We can't afford not to, especially now. Why especially now? Because we're in the middle of being acquired by a Fortune 500 company. The last thing we need during due diligence is a sexual harassment lawsuit or evidence of executives abusing their authority. What you've brought to our attention is the kind of problem that could derail a 9-figure acquisition. I hadn't expected that. The timing was perfect in a way I couldn't have planned. I see, I said. Mr. Brennan, I want you to know that you did the right thing bringing this to us privately. You could have gone to a lawyer. You could have gone to the media. You gave us the chance to handle this internally. I appreciate that. I'm not interested in a scandal. I just want accountability. Mitchum stood, extended his hand again. You'll get it. Patricia will take your full statement. If we need anything else, we'll contact you. We shook again. He left. Patricia sat back down, opened her tablet. I need you to walk me through everything. Dates, times, conversations, be as specific as possible. For the next hour, I told her everything. The late nights, the gym visits, the new clothes, Amanda's revelation in the grocery store, the confrontation at Peterson's house, Caroline's admission. Patricia took notes, asked clarifying questions, remained professionally detached. When we finished, she had me sign a statement. Then she handed me a business card. We may need to contact you again, she said. Keep your phone on. I will. Mr. Brennan? She looked at me with something that might have been respect. You're not the first husband who's come here with this kind of information, but you're the first one who stayed this calm. What happened to the others? They made threats. They made scenes. One physically attacked the executive in question. We had to call the police. She closed her tablet. You did this the right way. I stood. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming forward. She walked me to the elevator, shook my hand, went back to whatever crisis managers dealt with when they weren't handling my disaster. The elevator descended. I watched the floor numbers count down. 25, 24, 23. By the time I reached the ground floor, I felt lighter. Not happy, not satisfied, just balanced, like I'd put something heavy down that I'd been carrying for too long. I walked out of the building into afternoon sunshine, checked my phone, 37 missed calls, 29 from Caroline, 8 from numbers I didn't recognize, 1 voicemail from a number with Peterson's area code. I played it. David, this is Russell. We need to talk. Call me back. His voice sounded strained, worried. Good. I deleted the message and called Jason. How'd it go? He answered. They're starting an investigation. Both of them are suspended as of today, probably fired by the end of the week. Silence on the other end. Then, holy hell. Yeah. How do you feel? Like I just dropped a bomb and walked away before it exploded. That's because you did. David, you know what's coming next, right? She's going to lose her mind. He's going to come after you. This is just the beginning. I know. You ready for that? I thought about Caroline's face in the doorway, about the lie she'd told with such practiced ease, about the 2 months she'd spent betraying me while I paid rent and bought groceries and believed we had a future. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. Good. Go home. Lock your doors. Wait for the fallout. I drove home through midday traffic, past office workers on lunch breaks and delivery trucks and construction sites, normal life continuing while mine imploded in slow motion. My phone rang as I pulled into my parking spot. Caroline, I answered. What did you do? Her voice was shaking, barely controlled. I informed your employer about a policy violation. They suspended us, both of us. David, they're saying we're being investigated for termination. That sounds like a problem you should have considered before sleeping with your boss. This is insane. You can't just... I already did. And Caroline, this is what boredom feels like. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I turned it off and went inside. The apartment was exactly as I'd left it. But it felt different. Like the space itself had shifted, rearranged into a new configuration. This was my home now. Not ours. Mine. I made a sandwich. Ate it standing at the counter. Thought about what came next. The investigation would take 3 days, then the terminations. Then Caroline would need a lawyer, then I'd need a lawyer, then the divorce proceedings. It would be ugly, expensive, brutal, but at least it would be honest. At 6 o'clock, someone knocked on my door. I checked the security camera Jason had helped me install. Caroline and Peterson. Both of them. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. Caroline looked like she'd been crying for hours. Her eyes were swollen and red. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in dark trails. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was wearing the same clothes from last night. She looked destroyed. Peterson looked furious but controlled. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched at his sides. He was still wearing his work clothes, probably hadn't had time to go home and change before the HR meeting. "We need to talk," Caroline said. Her voice was hoarse, raw. "No, we don't," I replied, keeping my hand on the door frame. Not blocking them, but not welcoming them either. "David, please, they're going to fire us, both of us. Our careers are over." "That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate?" Peterson stepped forward, his voice rising. "You destroyed our lives." "No, you destroyed your own lives when you decided to violate your company's ethics policy. I just made sure the right people knew about it." "You had no right. I had every right. She's my wife. You're her boss. What did you think was going to happen? That I'd just accept it? That there wouldn't be consequences?" Caroline pushed past Peterson, got closer to me. "David, I know I hurt you. I know what I did was wrong. But this is too much. You're destroying everything." "I'm destroying everything. That's interesting perspective, coming from someone who lied to me for 2 months while sleeping with her boss." "I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to buy milk. A mistake is being late for dinner. What you did was deliberate, calculated. You made a choice every single day for 2 months to betray me." Tears were streaming down her face. "I was unhappy." "Then you should have told me. You should have been honest. You should have given me a chance to fix it or end it like an adult. But you didn't. You just started sleeping with someone else and expected me not to find out." Peterson grabbed her arm, tried to pull her back. "Caroline, this isn't working. Let's go." She shook him off. "No, I need to make him understand." "Understand what?" I asked. "That you're sorry? That you didn't mean to hurt me? I don't care, Caroline. I don't care about your explanations or your justifications. I care about the fact that you lied to me every single day and made me feel crazy for suspecting the truth." "David, do you know what the worst part is? It's not even the affair. It's the contempt. The way you looked at me when I showed up at his door last night. Not guilty, not ashamed, annoyed, like I was an inconvenience, like I was interrupting something important." She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. "That's when I realized you don't respect me," I continued. "You don't even see me as a person. I'm just an obstacle between you and the life you want. And that's fine. You're allowed to feel that way. But you're not allowed to destroy my life and expect me to help you clean up the mess." Peterson moved forward, putting himself partially between us. "You're going to regret this." "Am I?" "You cost us our jobs, our reputations. Do you think that's going to come without consequences?" "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise. You think you won here? You think destroying our careers makes you the good guy?" "I don't care about being the good guy. I care about making sure you both understand that actions have consequences." He stepped closer. He was bigger than me, taller by several inches, broader in the shoulders. He was used to intimidating people. "You're going to fix this," he said quietly, his voice low and dangerous. "You're going to call that HR woman and tell her you made a mistake, that you were angry and you lied. Or what? You'll hurt me in front of my security camera, in front of witnesses?" That stopped him. He glanced up, saw the small camera pointed at the door. "Yeah," I said. "I'm not stupid. Everything that happens here is being recorded, every word, every gesture. So please tell me again what you're going to do to me." His face went red. "You son of a—" The door to the stairwell opened. Jason walked in, carrying a bag from the hardware store. He took in the scene, stopped, set the bag down carefully. "Hey, David," he said conversationally, like this was the most normal thing in the world. "Did I catch you at a bad time?" Peterson turned to face this new presence. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "You," he said. "Me," Jason agreed. He moved past Peterson, positioned himself next to me. "What's going on here?" "Private conversation," Peterson said. "Doesn't look that private. Looks like two people are harassing my friend at his own home." "We're not harassing anyone. Really, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're trying to intimidate him, making threats, getting physical." "I didn't touch him?" "Not yet, but you were thinking about it." Jason smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Here's what's going to happen. You two are going to leave. You're going to stop calling, you're going to stop showing up, and you're going to remember that every decision that brought you to this moment was yours." "You can't tell us what to do," Caroline said, her voice rising. "This is between me and my husband. Your husband wants you to leave. I'm making sure that happens." "David, please." She looked at me, desperate now. "Please just talk to me. Just 5 minutes. Alone. We can figure this out." "There's nothing to figure out, Caroline. You made your choice. Now you live with it." "I love you." "No, you don't. You love what I represented. Stability, security, someone to come home to when Russell wasn't available. But you don't love me. If you did, you wouldn't have done this." She was sobbing now, full body shaking sobs that might have moved me a week ago. Now they just made me feel tired. Peterson grabbed her arm harder this time. "Come on, this is pointless." "He's right," Jason said. "It's pointless. You're not wanted here. Time to go." "This isn't over," Peterson said, looking at me. "You keep saying that. But it is over. You just haven't accepted it yet." He stared at me for another moment, then turned and pulled Caroline toward the stairs. She looked back once, her face a mask of grief and rage and disbelief. Then they were gone. The door to the stairwell closed. Silence settled over the hallway. Jason picked up his hardware bag, came inside. I closed and locked the door behind him. "That was stupid," he said. "What was?" "Letting him get that close. He was about to grab you." "I know." "Next time, don't open the door. Call the police if they won't leave. There won't be a next time." "You sure about that?" "Because Peterson looks like the kind of guy who needs to win, and right now, he's losing everything. People like that get dangerous." I thought about the look in Peterson's eyes, the barely controlled rage, the sense that he was one bad moment away from doing something he'd regret. "Maybe," I said. "But what's he going to do? His company is investigating him. He's probably going to lose his job. Attacking me would just make everything worse for him. Unless he decides he has nothing left to lose." That gave me pause. "You really think he'd try something?" Jason set the bag on the counter, pulled out a small camera. "I think people do stupid things when they're desperate, and he looked desperate." He spent the next hour setting up additional cameras, one covering the parking lot, one covering the stairwell entrance, one covering the hallway from a different angle. "All of these feed to the cloud," he explained. "If something happens, you'll have proof, and if someone tries to delete the footage, it's already backed up off-site." "You really think this is necessary?" "I think it's smart. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it." We ordered pizza because neither of us wanted to cook. Sat on the couch eating in silence while local news played on the television. Stories about traffic accidents and city council meetings and weather forecasts. Normal problems for normal people. Around 10, Jason's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. "My wife. I should get home. Thanks for coming. For everything." That's what friends do. He stood, grabbed his keys. "But David, be careful. This isn't over. Not by a long shot." "I know." He left. The apartment went quiet again. I pulled up the camera feeds on my phone. Everything looked normal. Empty hallway, empty stairwell, empty parking lot. I tried to sleep but couldn't. Every sound was magnified. The wind against the windows, the building settling, footsteps in the apartment above mine. At 2:30 in the morning, one of the cameras triggered. A motion alert on my phone. Hallway camera. I opened the feed. Someone was standing outside my door, wearing a hoodie, face hidden, trying the door handle. The lock held. They tried again, pulling harder. Then stepped back, seemed to consider something, and walked quickly toward the stairwell. The camera caught them in profile for just a second, enough to see the build, the height. Peterson. I took screenshots, saved the video, sent copies to my email and to Jason's phone. Then I sat in the dark living room with the lights off, watching the camera feeds, waiting to see if he'd come back. He didn't, but I didn't sleep either. Morning came with gray light and the sound of rain against the windows. I made coffee and checked the camera feeds. Nothing unusual overnight after Peterson's attempt at 2:30. My phone had 42 missed calls when I turned it on. I ignored all of them and called Philip Torres, the divorce lawyer I'd found online. His receptionist answered. Torres Family Law. How can I help you? I need to schedule a consultation. It's regarding a divorce. Of course. May I have your name? David Brennan. And when would you like to come in? As soon as possible, today, if you have availability. A pause while she checked the schedule. We have an opening at 2 this afternoon. Would that work? Perfect. Great. I'll need some basic information. I gave her the details, hung up, and spent the morning documenting everything. I went through our shared cloud account and found text messages Caroline had forgotten to delete. Nothing explicit, but enough to establish a pattern. Late-night exchanges with Peterson, plans to meet, references to our secret, and when we can finally be together. I printed everything, organized it in a folder, added the security footage from last night. At 1:30, I drove to Torres's office. It was in a brick building near the courthouse, second floor, waiting room with motivational posters and outdated magazines. Philip Torres was in his 50s, gray hair, tired eyes that had seen too many marriages fall apart. He shook my hand, led me to his office, gestured to a chair. Tell me what's going on, he said. I laid it out. The affair, the lies, the confrontation, the report to Mitchum Holdings, the suspension, Peterson showing up at my door. Torres made notes on a legal pad, occasionally asking questions. When I finished, he sat back and looked at me. You got her fired, he said. I reported a policy violation. Semantics. A judge might not see it that way. They might see it as vindictive behavior. So what do? We document everything. The affair, the lies, the pattern of deception. We show that you attempted to confront the situation directly and were met with denial and hostility. We demonstrate that reporting the policy violation was a reasonable response to an untenable situation. This is a no-fault state? Yes, but fault still matters in asset division and spousal support determinations. If we can show that her actions led to the dissolution of the marriage and her own financial hardship, it strengthens your position. What assets are we talking about? Walk me through everything. The apartment is in my name, lease from before we married. Her car is in her name, paid off. We have a joint savings account with about $15,000. My 401k has $40,000. Hers has maybe $25,000. That's it. No children? No. That simplifies things considerably. He made more notes. Has she filed yet? I don't know. I've been ignoring her calls. She will, soon. Probably asking for spousal support, claiming financial hardship due to losing her job. Can she get that? Maybe. Depends on how her lawyer argues it and what judge we get. But we'll argue that her job loss was a direct result of her own misconduct, not your actions. That's a tough hurdle for her to overcome. What's the timeline? If she files this week, we're looking at a preliminary hearing in about 3 weeks. Discovery period. Then a final hearing probably 6 to 8 weeks out. Faster than most divorces because there are no custody issues. And what do I do in the meantime? Stay away from her. Don't communicate except through lawyers once she files. Document everything. If she or Peterson contact you, harass you, threaten you, document it. The security footage you showed me of him trying your door, that's gold. It shows he's willing to engage in intimidating behavior. Torres walked me through the process, explained the paperwork, gave me a retainer agreement to review. His fee was steep but not unreasonable, given what was at stake. One more thing, he said as I was leaving. This is going to get ugly. Your wife is about to lose her job, her marriage, and possibly her financial security. People do desperate things when they're cornered. Be careful. The second person to tell me that in 24 hours. I drove home through rain that had turned heavy, windshield wipers struggling to keep up. The city looked gray and indistinct, like someone had smudged the edges of everything. My phone rang as I parked. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. David Brennan? Yes? This is Jennifer Walsh. I'm an attorney. Caroline Brennan has retained me to represent her in divorce proceedings. So it was happening. Okay, I said. I'm calling as a professional courtesy to inform you that we'll be filing papers tomorrow morning. You should expect to be served within the week. I understand. Mr. Brennan, my client is willing to make this as painless as possible if you're reasonable about the terms. Define reasonable. Equal division of marital assets. Temporary spousal support of 18 months while she reestablishes her career. No litigation, no court battles. Clean and simple. I almost laughed. Your client wants to cheat on me, lose her job because of it, and then take half of everything while I pay her support for a year and a half? Community property laws. I understand the laws. Tell your client I'll see her in court. Mr. Brennan, litigation is expensive for both parties. Then she should have thought about that before sleeping with her boss. We're done here. I hung up. My phone rang immediately. Caroline's lawyer calling back. I declined it. She texted, Mr. Brennan, please reconsider. This doesn't have to be adversarial. I deleted the text. The next 3 days passed in a strange limbo. I went to work, came home, avoided phone calls, watched the security cameras, slept poorly. On Thursday, I got a text from Amanda. David, I wanted to give you a heads up. The investigation wrapped up today. HR confirmed everything. Peterson and Caroline are being terminated tomorrow morning. But Peterson's been calling people from the department, trying to get statements that you harassed Caroline, that you were controlling. He's building a case against you. I showed the text to Torres. Let him try, Torres said over the phone. We have documentation. We have witnesses. If he wants to commit perjury, that's his problem. Friday morning, I was at work when my phone buzzed with an email from Patricia Simmons at Mitchum Holdings. Mr. Brennan, I wanted to inform you that our investigation has concluded. Both Mr. Peterson and Ms. Brennan have been terminated for violation of company policy, effective immediately. Thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I read it 3 times. It was done. They were both out. I forwarded the email to Torres and Jason. Jason called immediately. How do you feel? Like I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop. Smart, because it's coming. She's about to lose everything, and she's going to blame you. Let her. That evening, I went to the grocery store. Needed food, needed to feel normal, even if nothing was normal anymore. I was loading bags into my car when I heard my name. David? I turned. Caroline was walking across the parking lot toward me. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, no makeup, clothes that had been slept in. Caroline, don't! They fired me! She was shouting, crying, drawing stares from other shoppers. They fired both of us. This is your fault. You need to leave. My fault? How is this my fault? You're the one who went to HR. You're the one who destroyed our careers. People were stopping, watching. Phones were coming out. Caroline, you need to go, now. I have nothing. No job, no husband, no future, all because you couldn't handle me being happy. Being happy? You lied to me for 2 months. You betrayed everything we built. Don't stand here and act like you're the victim. She was in front of me now, close enough that I could see the red veins in her eyes, smell the wine on her breath. I hate you, she said quietly. I hate you so much. That's fine. Hate me all you want, but do it somewhere else. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Go home, Caroline, or wherever you're staying now. But go. She raised her hand like she might slap me. I stepped back, pulled out my phone, hit record. Do it, I said. Please, give me more evidence. She lowered her hand, stepped back, looked around at all the people watching, recording. Then she turned and walked away, still crying, shoulders shaking. I finished loading my groceries and drove home. The divorce papers were taped to my door. I'd been served. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. Judge Patricia Keegan presiding. Torres said she was fair, experienced, no nonsense. She won't tolerate emotional manipulation, he explained. Stick to facts. Let your lawyer do the talking. The weeks passed in a blur of documentation and preparation. I gave Torres everything. The timeline of the affair, Amanda's statement, the security footage of Peterson trying my door, screenshots of Caroline's texts with him. Torres compiled it into a narrative that was devastating in its clarity. This isn't just about an affair, he said. It's about a pattern of deception, abuse of power, and consequences. The judge needs to see that your actions were reasonable responses to an unreasonable situation. Caroline's lawyer filed motions, discovery requests, demands for financial records. Everything was copied, categorized, submitted to the court. My life became paper and digital trails, evidence of a marriage dying in real time. The night before the preliminary hearing, I couldn't sleep. I paced the apartment, checked the security cameras, rehearsed what I might say if called to testify. At midnight, my phone rang. Jason. You okay? He asked. Can't sleep. That's normal. But David, listen. Tomorrow is just procedural. Both sides show up, the judge reviews the filings, sets the schedule. It's not dramatic. I know. But it's going to hurt anyway, seeing her. knowing this is really happening. Yeah. You need me there? I'll be okay. That's not what I asked. I thought about it. About walking into that courtroom alone. About facing Caroline and her lawyer without anyone in my corner except Torres. Yeah, I said. I need you there. Then I'll be there. 9 o'clock, right? Right. Get some sleep. Or try to. Tomorrow you start getting your life back. The courthouse was downtown, a stone building with columns and metal detectors. I met Torres in the lobby at 8:30. He was carrying a leather briefcase and wearing a suit that had seen 1,000 hearings. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. Jason showed up 10 minutes later. He was wearing khakis and a button-down shirt, the closest thing to formal I'd ever seen him in. Looking sharp, I said. Figured I should dress up for the occasion. He clapped me on the shoulder. How are you holding up? I'm fine. Liar. But that's okay. We went through security, took the elevator to the 4th floor, found courtroom 4B. The hallway outside was full of people waiting for their cases, lawyers conferring with clients, families looking stressed and tired. Caroline was there with her lawyer. Jennifer Walsh, mid-40s, expensive suit, carrying a designer briefcase. They were sitting on a bench, talking quietly. Caroline looked up when we approached. Our eyes met for a second, then she looked away. Let's wait over here, Torres said, guiding me to the opposite side of the hallway. The courtroom doors opened at 9. We filed in. It was smaller than I'd expected. 2 tables facing a judge's bench. A bailiff standing by the door, a court reporter with her machine. And in the back row, wearing a suit and looking like he owned the place, was Russell Peterson. Why is he here? I asked Torres. Gallery's open to the public. He has a right to observe. He's trying to intimidate me. Then don't give him the satisfaction of knowing it worked. We sat at the left table. Caroline and Walsh sat at the right. The bailiff called us to order. Judge Keegan entered. She was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. Good morning, she said, sitting down without ceremony. Case number 2024, DR 8847, Brennan versus Brennan. Divorce proceedings. I've reviewed the initial filings. This appears straightforward. No children, minimal assets. Why are we here instead of mediation? Walsh stood. Your Honor, my client believes Mr. Brennan has engaged in vindictive and punitive behavior. He deliberately destroyed her career. By reporting a policy violation to her employer? Judge Keegan looked over her glasses. That's not illegal, Counselor. It was done out of spite, Your Honor, in retaliation for the end of their marriage. The end of their marriage, as I understand from the filings, was caused by Mrs. Brennan's affair with her supervisor, an affair that violated her employer's ethics policy. Is that correct? Your Honor, the relationship... Yes or no, Counselor? Walsh's jaw tightened. Yes, Your Honor, but the context... I'll hear context at the evidentiary hearing. For now, what is your client asking for? Equal division of marital assets and temporary spousal support of $2,000 per month for 24 months while she secures new employment. Judge Keegan looked at Torres. Mr. Torres? Your Honor, we have no objection to equitable division of assets, but we strongly oppose spousal support. Mrs. Brennan's unemployment is a direct result of her own choices. She engaged in a relationship with her supervisor that violated her employer's ethics policy. She was terminated for cause. We don't believe my client should be financially penalized for reporting that violation. Do you have evidence of this violation? Torres opened his briefcase, pulled out a folder. Yes, Your Honor, and text messages, witness statements, security footage, and confirmation from Mitchum Holdings' HR department that both Mrs. Brennan and her supervisor were terminated for policy violations. He handed copies to the judge and to Walsh. Judge Keegan flipped through the documents in silence. When she looked up, her expression was unreadable. Mrs. Walsh, does your client dispute these facts? Walsh stood. Your Honor, my client acknowledges the relationship, but maintains it began after the marriage was effectively over. When did your client move out of the marital residence? She hasn't yet, Your Honor. She's been staying with friends pending the resolution. So she was still living with her husband while conducting this affair? Silence from Walsh's table. I'll take that as a yes. Judge Keegan made some notes. Anything else? Torres stood. Your Honor, we'd also like to submit security footage showing Mrs. Brennan's former supervisor attempting to enter my client's residence at 2:30 in the morning, 3 days after the affair was discovered. We believe this demonstrates a pattern of harassment and intimidation. He handed up the footage on a tablet. Judge Keegan watched it, her expression darkening. Who is this person? Russell Peterson, Your Honor. Mrs. Brennan's former supervisor and romantic partner. Is Mr. Peterson in this courtroom? Peterson stood in the back. I am, Your Honor. Sir, this footage shows you attempting to enter Mr. Brennan's residence in the middle of the night. Can you explain that? I was checking on Caroline, Your Honor. I was worried about her safety. By trying to break into her husband's apartment? That's an interesting interpretation of welfare check. I wasn't trying to break in. Sit down, sir. Unless you're testifying, I don't want to hear from you again. Peterson sat, his face red. Judge Keegan turned back to us. Here's what's going to happen. We'll have a full evidentiary hearing in 3 weeks. Both parties will present documentation, witnesses if applicable. I'll make determinations on asset division and spousal support at that time. In the meantime, Mrs. Brennan, you are ordered to vacate the marital residence immediately. You have 1 week to collect your belongings. Your Honor, Walsh started. That wasn't a suggestion, Counselor. Your client chose to end this marriage through her actions. She doesn't get to continue living in his home while we sort out the details. 1 week. Anything else? No, Your Honor. Then we're adjourned. She banged her gavel. Outside the courtroom, Caroline tried to approach me. Torres stepped between us. No contact except through counsel, he said firmly. I just want to talk to him. Attorney Walsh, control your client. Walsh pulled Caroline back. Come on, let's go. But Caroline wasn't done. She was looking at me over Torres's shoulder, her face a mixture of rage and desperation. This is all your fault, she shouted. You destroyed everything. People in the hallway were staring. David, please. She was crying now. You can't do this. Where am I supposed to go? I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. That's not my problem anymore, I said. Peterson was suddenly there, grabbing her arm. Caroline, let's go. Get off me, she yanked her arm away. This is your fault, too. You said you loved me. You said we'd be together. Not here. Peterson looked around at all the witnesses, all the phones recording. Jesus, Caroline, not here. Where then? Your place that I can't afford? The job we both lost? The future you promised that doesn't exist? You need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down, she was screaming now. You're just like him, both of you, using me. Neither of you actually cared. She collapsed into sobs. Full breakdown. The kind that comes from realizing your life is over and there's no way back. Peterson looked at me, his face a mask of fury and shame. This is what you wanted, he said quietly. No, I replied. This is what you both created. I just made sure everyone could see it. He guided Caroline toward the elevator, her sobs echoing down the hallway. Torres touched my arm. That went well. Did it? Better than expected. The judge is on your side, or at least she's not on theirs. That security footage made an impression. What happens next? We prepare for the evidentiary hearing, gather more documentation, see what they file in response. But David, I think we're going to win this. Jason walked with me to the parking garage. Neither of us spoke until we reached my car. You okay? He asked. I don't know. I thought I'd feel something. Relief, satisfaction, something. But I just feel empty. That's normal. This isn't the end. It's just the next step. When does it end? When you decide it does. I drove home, Jason following in his truck. We ordered Thai food and ate it on my couch, watching a basketball game neither of us cared about. Around 10, Jason's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. Amanda just texted you, he said. What? He showed me his phone. The text was copied to both of us. Peterson's been calling everyone from the department again. He's telling people David made false accusations, that he and Caroline are victims. He's trying to build sympathy before his lawsuit. Lawsuit? I looked at Jason. He's desperate, lost his job, his reputation, his girlfriend. Some people lawyer up when they're cornered. Let him sue me. I told the truth. Truth is a defense, but lawsuits are expensive, even when you win. I forwarded the text to Torres. He called back 5 minutes later. If Peterson sues, we countersue for harassment and defamation. We have him on camera trying to break into your home. We have witnesses to his threats. He won't win. You sure? Nothing's certain in law, but I like our odds. The week passed. Caroline came to get her things on a Saturday morning, accompanied by Peterson and her mother. That surprised me. Her mother, Dorothy, was in her 60s, steel gray hair, the kind of woman who'd never approved of me but had tolerated me for Caroline's sake. I watched from the security camera as they loaded boxes into Peterson's car. Dorothy was arguing with Caroline the whole time, her face stern, her body language rigid with disapproval. When they were almost done, Dorothy came to the door. Alone, I answered. Mrs. Barrett, I said. David. She looked at me with something that might have been respect. I want you to know that I'm ashamed of my daughter. You don't need to. Yes, I do. What she did was wrong, disgraceful. She threw away a good marriage, a good man, for that. She gestured toward Peterson loading boxes. I raised her better than this. Thank you for saying that. I want you to know something else. When this goes to court, if they ask me to testify, I'll tell the truth, even if it hurts her. I appreciate that. She nodded, turned to leave, then stopped. You're going to be okay, David. You're better off without her. She left, got in the car. They drove away. I stood in the doorway for a long time after, processing what had just happened. Caroline's own mother was on my side. The evidentiary hearing was set for Tuesday, March 15th, 3 weeks away. Torres spent that time building our case like he was preparing for trial. Most divorces settle before the hearing, he explained, but Caroline's lawyer is pushing for support, and I don't think they'll back down, so we need to be ready to go all the way. He subpoenaed records from Mitchum Holdings, termination documents, the investigation report, internal communications about the policy violation. He took statements from Amanda and 2 other coworkers who'd witnessed Caroline's changed behavior, the special treatment she'd received from Peterson, the office gossip about their relationship. He compiled my financial records, showing that I'd been the primary breadwinner throughout the marriage, that Caroline's income had always been supplemental. The narrative we're building, Torres said, is that Caroline made a series of choices that led to predictable consequences. She chose to have an affair, she chose to violate her employer's policy, she chose to lie about it. And now she's asking you to subsidize her bad decisions. Most judges won't go for that. What if this judge does? Then we appeal. But I don't think we'll need to. 2 weeks before the hearing, I got a call at work. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. David Brennan? Yes? This is Patricia Simmons from Mitchum Holdings. Do you have a moment? Of course. I wanted to give you a heads up. Russell Peterson has filed a lawsuit against the company, claiming wrongful termination. He's alleging that you made false statements to HR and that we terminated him without proper investigation. But you did investigate. We did, thoroughly, and we have documentation of everything, including his admission during the investigation that the relationship occurred. His lawsuit is frivolous, but it's going to get messy. Is he suing me too? Not yet. But he's named you in the complaint as someone who made false and defamatory statements. If he loses against us, he might come after you directly. What do I do? Talk to your lawyer. Document everything, and if he or anyone acting on his behalf contacts you, don't engage. Let your attorney handle it. I called Torres immediately. Expected, he said when I told him. He's lashing out. He lost his job, his reputation, his girlfriend. Some people go down swinging. Can he win? Against Mitchum? No. They have ironclad documentation. Against you? He'd have to prove you knowingly made false statements. Since everything you said was true, that's impossible. So I just wait? You wait, and you let him waste his money on lawyers while we focus on your divorce. The week before the hearing, Caroline started calling again. I didn't answer. She left voicemails. David, please, we need to talk. I can't afford a lawyer anymore. I can't afford anything. I'm living out of a suitcase. Please, just talk to me. Then, I know you hate me. I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm drowning here. I can't get a job. No one will hire me. Everyone knows what happened. Please. Then, Russell left me. He said it was too complicated, that he couldn't deal with everything. I have no one. My mom won't talk to me. My friends won't return my calls. You're the only person who... I deleted the rest without listening. Torres heard the voicemails. Don't respond. This is manipulation. She's trying to make you feel guilty so you'll settle. It's working. No, it's not. Because you're smarter than that. She made her choices. This is the consequence. The courthouse was crowded on Tuesday morning, more crowded than the preliminary hearing. I met Torres in the lobby at 8:30. He was carrying 2 briefcases this time. Big day, he said. Yeah. Remember what we talked about. Let me do the talking. Answer questions directly and honestly. Don't let Walsh bait you into showing emotion. You're calm, you're reasonable, you're the wronged party who responded appropriately. Jason arrived 10 minutes later. He'd brought coffee for all of us. How'd you sleep? He asked. I didn't. That's okay. Neither did she, probably. But she's going in there knowing she's on the wrong side of this. You're going in knowing you told the truth. That matters. We went through security and up to the 4th floor. The hallway outside courtroom 4B was less crowded this time. Just us, Caroline and her lawyer, and a few other people waiting for other cases. Caroline looked worse than I'd ever seen her. She'd lost weight. Her clothes hung loose. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She wasn't wearing makeup. She looked at me once when we arrived. Just a glance, but it was enough. I saw everything in that look. Regret, desperation, plea. I looked away. The bailiff opened the doors at 9. We filed in. Same courtroom, same setup. But this time it felt more serious, more final. Judge Keegan entered, took her seat, opened a folder. Good morning. We're here for the evidentiary hearing in Brennan versus Brennan. I've reviewed the filings from both parties. Mrs. Walsh, you may proceed. Walsh stood. Your Honor, my client is requesting equal division of marital assets and temporary spousal support of $1,800 per month for 24 months. Mrs. Brennan is currently unemployed through no fault of her own. Counselor, I'm going to stop you there. Your client was terminated for cause by her employer. That's not no fault of her own. Your Honor, she was terminated because her husband made allegations. Her husband reported a policy violation. The company investigated and found those allegations to be true. Are you disputing that? Walsh hesitated. No, Your Honor, but the context. I'll hear your context. Present your evidence. Walsh called Caroline to the stand. Caroline was sworn in, sat down, looked at her lawyer. Mrs. Brennan, Walsh began. Can you describe your relationship with your husband? We were together for 6 years, married for 4. I thought we had a good marriage. When did that change? About 6 months ago. David became distant, worked late, stopped communicating. I felt alone. Torres stood. Objection. This is narrative without foundation. Sustained. Mrs. Walsh, stick to specific facts. Walsh nodded. Mrs. Brennan, when did you begin your relationship with Russell Peterson? About 2 months before David found out. I was lonely. Russell was there. It just happened. And when your husband discovered the relationship, what happened? He went to my employer and told them. He knew it would get me fired. He did it to punish me. Objection, Torres said. Speculation as to motive. Sustained, Walsh continued. What has your life been like since being terminated? I've applied to over 50 jobs. No one will hire me. Everyone in the industry knows what happened. I'm blacklisted. I can't pay rent. I can't afford food. I'm living out of a suitcase at a friend's house. And what are you asking this court for? I just want enough support to get back on my feet. $1,800 a month for 2 years while I retrain for a different career. That's all. Thank you. No further questions. Torres stood. Mrs. Brennan, you testified that your husband became distant 6 months ago, but your affair began only 2 months before he discovered it. Can you explain that timeline? Caroline shifted in her seat. I don't know exact dates. But you said you were lonely because he was distant. Yet the affair started 4 months after you noticed this distance. Why did you wait 4 months? I don't know. It just happened? You testified to that. But affairs don't just happen, do they? There's a first conversation, a first text, a first meeting outside work, a first kiss, a first time you betrayed your marriage. Those are all choices, aren't they? I suppose. Yes or no, Mrs. Brennan? Yes. And you made those choices while still living with your husband, correct? Yes. While he was paying the rent, buying groceries, maintaining your shared life? Yes. Did you tell him you were unhappy? I tried. Yes or no? No, not directly. Did you suggest marriage counseling? No. Did you suggest a trial separation? No. So instead of communicating with your husband like an adult, you started sleeping with your boss. Is that accurate? Objection, Walsh said. Argumentative. Sustained. Rephrase, Mr. Torres. Mrs. Brennan, did you seek any kind of resolution to your marital problems before beginning your affair? No. Thank you. Now, regarding your termination, you were aware of your company's fraternization policy, correct? Yes. And you violated that policy by engaging in a relationship with your direct supervisor? Yes. So when your husband reported that violation to HR, he was simply telling the truth? Yes, but yes or no, please. Yes. And the company investigated and confirmed the violation before terminating you? Yes. So your unemployment is not because of your husband's actions. It's because of your own violation of company policy. Correct? Caroline's eyes filled with tears. I made a mistake. Please answer the question. Is your unemployment the result of your own policy violation? Yes. Thank you. No further questions. Caroline left the stand crying. Walsh tried to comfort her, but Caroline pulled away, collapsed into her chair. Torres called me next. I was sworn in, sat down, looked at the judge. Mr. Brennan, Torres began, how did you discover your wife's affair? Her coworker told me, Amanda Brennan. She saw me at the grocery store and informed me that Caroline wasn't on the business trip she'd claimed to be on. She was staying at her boss's house. What did you do with that information? I called Caroline. She lied to me about her location. Then I drove to Peterson's house and confronted her. And what was her response? She admitted the affair, said she didn't love me anymore, said she used to. Even saying it out loud, in court, hurt. What did you do next? I went home. I thought about my options, and I decided to report the policy violation to her employer. Why? Because it was the truth, because they were violating company policy, because I wanted there to be consequences. Were you trying to get her fired out of spite? No. I was trying to make sure the company knew about a situation that created liability for them. What they did with that information was their choice. Did you make any false statements to Mitchum Holdings? No. Everything I told them was true. Thank you. No further questions. Walsh stood for cross-examination. Mr. Brennan, you were angry when you discovered your wife's affair, weren't you? Yes. You wanted to hurt her the way she'd hurt you? I wanted there to be consequences for her actions. Isn't it true that you went to her employer specifically to get her fired? I went to her employer to report a policy violation. I couldn't control whether they chose to fire her. But you knew it was likely? I knew it was possible. You didn't care that she'd lose her career? She didn't care about losing her marriage. Your Honor, Walsh protested, non-responsive. Sustained. Answer the question, Mr. Brennan. No, I didn't care. She made her choice. She got to live with the consequences. Walsh looked frustrated. Nothing further. Torres stood. Your Honor, we'd like to call one more witness. Proceed. The defense calls Dorothy Barrett. The courtroom doors opened. Caroline's mother walked in. She was wearing a navy dress suit, her gray hair perfectly styled, her face set in stern disapproval. Caroline's face went white. Dorothy was sworn in, sat down, looked directly at her daughter with an expression that could have frozen water. Mrs. Barrett, Torres began, you're the respondent's mother? I am. When did you learn about your daughter's affair? About a month ago. She called me asking if she could stay with me. I asked why she couldn't stay in her apartment. She told me about Russell Peterson and the affair. I told her no, she couldn't stay with me. Why not? Because what she did was disgraceful. She had a good husband, a good marriage. She threw it all away for a man with money. Did she express any remorse? No. She blamed David. Said he was boring, said he didn't appreciate her, said she deserved better. What did you say to that? I told her she was selfish, that she'd made vows before God and she'd broken them, that David was too good for her, not the other way around. Caroline was sobbing now, her face in her hands. Mrs. Barrett, your daughter is asking this court for spousal support. Do you believe that's appropriate? Objection, Walsh shot up. Relevance. Goes to character, Your Honor. I'll allow it. Answer the question, Mrs. Barrett. Dorothy looked at Caroline, then back at Torres. No, I don't think it's appropriate. My daughter made her choices. She should live with the consequences. David doesn't owe her anything. Thank you. No further questions. Walsh stood. Mrs. Barrett, isn't it true that you never approved of David? That's true. You thought Caroline could do better? I did. I was wrong. You're saying that now, after everything that's happened. I'm saying it because it's the truth. I've watched my daughter destroy her life through her own selfishness and poor judgment. David was steady, reliable, faithful. Those are qualities I should have valued more. But you... I was wrong, counselor. And unlike my daughter, I'm willing to admit it. Walsh sat down, defeated. Judge Keegan looked at both lawyers. Anything else? No, Your Honor, Torres said. No, Your Honor, Walsh echoed. Good. I'm ready to rule. The courtroom went silent. Judge Keegan removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes, then looked directly at Caroline. Mrs. Brennan, I've heard your testimony. I've reviewed the evidence, and I have to tell you, I have very little sympathy for your situation. Caroline looked up, tears streaming down her face. You engaged in an affair with your direct supervisor, violating your employer's ethics policy. You lied to your husband repeatedly. You showed no remorse, even blaming him for your unhappiness. And now you're asking him to subsidize your life while you recover from consequences of your own making? Your Honor, Walsh started. I'm not finished, Counselor. Mrs. Brennan, you made a series of choices. You chose to have an affair. You chose to violate company policy. You chose to lie. Those choices have consequences, and those consequences are not your husband's responsibility. The judge put her glasses back on, looked at her notes. Here's my ruling. Marital assets will be divided equitably. Each party retains their own retirement accounts. The joint savings account will be split 50-50. Mr. Brennan retains the apartment as he is the sole leaseholder. No spousal support, no alimony. You're both adults. You both have earning potential. You'll both figure it out. She banged her gavel. Court is adjourned.